Hello and welcome to Wasted Plotential, where we discuss the wasted potential of our favourite plotlines. Mortal Kombat Onslaught is dead. The game saw the somewhat rushed conclusion to its story and is now unavailable to download or play. The game's setting is kind of a mashup of MK11's two eras, which makes sense given it primarily reused assets from that game. But since it officially released around the time of M1K, it felt a little outdated right from the off. So I'm going to propose an alternate story they could have gone with if they'd held off until M1K was out to release it, which I think could have given it a tad more longevity. One thing that made this game feel odd to me is that, unlike say Fate Grand Order or Fire Emblem Heroes, the summoning of characters and the existence of the alternate forms are not part of the story. Your alternate Sonya is not canon to the main story and only exists in Chronicle stories to distinguish them as alternate timelines. Hell, some didn't even get that much. As a result, a lot of the alts were left without any sort of context or reason to care about them. That we tended to only get one newcomer every 3 weeks also didn't help. In my version, we'd get new additions in batches, and the summoning is not only canon, but a big part of the premise. Taking place in the aftermath of M1K's final battle, Liu Kang reconvenes with Titans Kung Lao, Raiden and Kitana to form a council of timekeepers to watch over the multiverse and put together a strike force to travel to other timelines and stop threats from spreading out. The player then summons characters from various timelines to take part in these raids. On launch, each character would have two variants, M1K and a more classic one likely derived from MK11. Just imagine the opening cinematic, but instead of a generic good guys versus bad guys scene, we have Hanzo and Kuai Liang Scorpion teaming up against Noob Saibot and Bi-Han Sub-Zero, God and Mortal Liu Kangs or Raidens as a team, the Royal Twins versus an army of Melina clones. That scene alone could be so much fun. The first arc I would pitch with an instigator from one timeline trying to rile up a bunch of others. I'd pick Shinnok since by this point it would have been almost a decade since he was the main villain of a game and his assets already exist. Later seasons would use Onaga and Blaze in larger scale reimaginings of their respective plots. Onaga wants to merge all the timelines, and Blaze wants Armageddon and has gone so out of control that he unwittingly threatens the destruction of all timelines. And I do mean MK Armageddon. If we're really doing this DC multiverse crap, go all out and say the old Chronica timelines were all restored when reality split in Aftermath. That way, classic costumes like Deception Sub-Zero can be the Deception Sub-Zero, pulled from during that game or after we stopped following that timeline. New versions of characters are regularly added, both to bolster the enemy ranks with each update, and also for fresh allies. We get classic versions and random alternate costumes, now featuring bios to give us an idea of the world they came from. For instance, what is this Cold War thing actually? Some are introduced as tie-ins to M1K's updates or movie releases. MK11 Ermac drops alongside his M1K release. Some classic versions release simultaneously in this and M1K. Some characters get Titan variants alongside their invasion seasons, and some of these have plots to go with them. Chronicle stories now follow certain characters in crossover plots since those were some of the more interesting concepts in the official Chronicles. We'd get ones like Kuai Liang Scorpion in a more classic MK universe still, while a good Bi-Han gets to travel to timelines that include Noob Saibot to eliminate or purify them, a crazed Ermac tries to merge all Ermacs into one collective, or 95 Liu Kang teams up with Cole Young to battle King Kano or something. Some are sequels to invasion seasons, such as Invader Hanzo joining the alliance with Harumi after being brought together by Liu Kang, or Invader Raiden being tasked with joining this task force to atone for his sins. Other ideas can be found in the Wasted Plotential on the Chronicles, like the Raiden Alliance trying to rid the multiverse of Dark Raidens, or a Kenshi stopping a deadly alliance of Shang Tsungs. Each summonable fighter would have a bio that details their motives for joining the task force. Over time, we eventually witness a Dark Council emerge, aiming to exploit other timelines for their own ends. It can be the basic Shang Tsung Quan Chi Shao Kahn type alliance, or something with evil versions of the heroes to really spice things up. The final story, should the mainline series choose not to make use of it, sees Chronica from MK11's bad ending make herself known and try to return the multiverse to a state of unity under her control. Alternatively, this could be the premise from the start, with Chronica manipulating fighters and titans from various universes the whole time, getting progressively more and more butt-mad as each plan fails. Either way, it all culminates in a final assault on her keep, complete with a cinematic inspired by the final battle scene of MK11, but now featuring M1K, classic, movie, and original variants of various characters. Alliances of specific individuals clashing in a larger scale take on the opening cinematic to highlight just how far this crossover, initially focused on only 2 entries, ultimately came by the end. Let the game have a big bash to close things out, instead of a rushed Raiden vs Shinnok fight that pretty much invalidates everything that happened prior to the last 3 or so chapters. Of course, this is all contingent on WB actually marketing the fucking thing and allotting it the time and money it needs to make it work, instead of just seeing a business model that works and then expecting it to survive and flourish on IP alone. But then, you know, Warner Bros. Thanks, David. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended video is Mortal Kombat Onslaught All Fatalities by Game Tooler, because so few people did Onslaught content. I blame you guys for the game dying, essentially.